On today's Movie Talk, we've got your weekend box office report, and then on top of that, the very first clip from Rise of Skywalker is here, and then we've actually got Josh Trank reviewing his own movie, Fantastic Four, all on today's Movie Talk. We haven't even started the show, and Jay Washington is already losing it. And I don't know why. Did I say something?
No. Did you see the bottom graphic on the Fantastic Four?
One of those?
I'm going to tell my kids this. And it was like, I'm going to tell my kids this was X-Men. And that tickled me because I was like, I don't blame you.
You think I would have learned to read those ahead of time so none of that ever happens, but I never do. And I can't
It caught me off guard because I was looking at it all. I'm going to tell my kids this is X-Men. Like, I don't blame you at all.
How you guys doing? What's up, John Rocha?
What's up, everyone? Just tweeting the link out so you're watching us live. How's it going? I'm excited. Let's talk about a great, fun weekend of football. Perri and I saw
No, it wasn't a fun weekend of football.
My Skins won, so it was a fun weekend for me.
Hey, guys, a win's a win,
there
right?
You go. There
Shouts
you go.
out to the Bears.
But we saw 1917 yesterday, so I can't stop glowing. I can't stop talking about it.
I don't think a full review yet, but
Not
you're
yet,
allowed to share your Twitter reaction. That counts for something.
It counts for something.
But we will be reviewing it.
Yes.
We'll be reviewing it properly, and we're going to get to share it with you super soon. Right now, we got a whole bunch of stuff to get into. Of course, it's Monday, so we're kicking off the lineup with the weekend box office report. Here is your top five. Frozen 2 kicked off strong with $127 million. That's a record-breaking opening right there. Ford v Ferrari took the number 2 spot with $16 million. Then it was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, opening up with $13.5 million, followed by an opening weekend total of $9.3 million for 21 Bridges. And then Midway still hanging on at number 5 with $4.7 million. You guys see all these numbers up on the screen right now. What stands out to you the most?
I thought Frozen 2 would have made a little bit more.
More?
Do you mean domestically?
Yeah, domestically.
It's the highest opening weekend.
I know it is. I just thought
for
it would
an
have
animated movie.
Yeah, for an animated film. But I just felt like it was going to make a little bit more, coming off the heels of what Toy Story 4 brought, all that emotion. Everybody had been anticipating Frozen 2. But I guess because we're right at the cusp of the holiday season and Black Friday and stuff like that, people will go see some things and they'll save some money. But I just thought it was going to crack maybe 150. I don't know. Maybe it was just that wasn't realistic.
I think that would have been possible if it were a summer release, because that's when we see a movie like Incredibles 2 make, it was north of 150. It was an insane amount of money, but when you drop something in the November month, it usually is slightly lower. But what Frozen 2, I think, is doing versus a summer release is it's playing the long game. This is a movie that's going to hang on for a very long time. We were talking about it before we even started the show. That first Frozen movie, for its 3-day opening weekend, only made something like $67 million. It wound up becoming a sensation because it had super, super long legs.
Yeah.
So after this really hot start, I have a feeling that they're going to try to replicate that to a degree and make this one an overall worldwide success.
Yeah, I mean, it jumped from $41.8 million on Friday to $49.8 million on Saturday. And looking at that's a 19% jump. And you're looking at the stats here. If they remove the Thursday previews of 8.5 million, then that's a 50% jump. That's pretty incredible. So probably word of mouth there behind it, pushing it. So, and that's what pushed it, like you said, Perri, the first one. That's what pushed the first one was word of mouth. People coming constantly. And also when it was released and some of these, like it was around Ender's Game. People remember Ender's Game? That was around the same time that Frozen.
I remember Ender's Game very well because I was rooting for that movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were, because that's a great book by Orson Scott Card. We were hoping it would do well, but it didn't. But you get, so this, where it's released now, you wonder, okay, how long has it got? We're going into the Christmas season, right? All of this is happening here, and it looks fun. The songs are capturing people. You just said off camera, you can't get the song out of your head. Yeah, those are the things that are going to make you come back and watch it over again. And what do you want to do at family time? It's spend time in the theaters. I'm sorry, Christmas time. It's spend time with your family. So,
although I will say, Knives Out could be some really backwards Thanksgiving competition.
Fair enough.
They just send something in the mail, and it's like, I wish I brought it on set now. It's like a box to survive the holidays.
Yeah.
And it's something like headphones to drown out your family, a board game to distract from family conversation, Advil for the headache that you're going to have after, and then there was a fourth thing in it, and it was just very, very funny.
Well, you say how, going back to Frozen 2 having legs, how long do those legs last? When does Jumanji 2 drop?
Right.
Jumanji 2 drops December 13th, and they're playing the same game because that's what happened with the last
first one,
Jumanji movie.
that one for sure.
It's such like I can't handle the idea that we keep calling that Jumanji the first one when technically it's the second, but because it's part of a new iteration of the
second,
I don't know. I like never know what to say anymore.
It's the second.
It's
The third one's coming out.
This is the third one.
Technically, this is the third one.
Yeah, it's just okay. It's another Jumanji movie. Kevin Hart and The Rock.
But we don't really have any animated competition
No,
through the rest of the year.
No, there's
so
no more animated.
This has a chance.
Yeah, but again, like I said, you get Jumanji and then you get Rise of Skywalker, which a lot of kids, even the kids that would go see Frozen, some will still want to see Star Wars as well. So that's the part of how long those legs last.
But look at what happened with Last Jedi, because I believe that year, Rocha, you can correct me of all people if I'm wrong, that year not only did Jumanji do really well against Last Jedi, but so did Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Greatest Showman.
And Greatest Showman did well in the long run, right? It didn't start out well when it's opening weekend, but for some reason, like we saw with Aquaman, the legs were there and it just kept going and going and going. And so those films you can't predict. We talk about fantasy football off camera. You do all the research you want, you just never know what's going to happen. It's the same thing with box office. You can do all the research you want, look at all the stats, break it all down, but you never know what the public tastes are going to be and why
do I do this to myself?
Yeah, right. Do you know why Aquaman had legs? Because the Pitbull's version of Toto from Africa. That was the reason.
That did not. That
had
had nothing
legs.
to do with it.
That's the reason.
But
legs.
I think Frozen 2 actually will have legs. I think people were very surprised by how much they enjoyed it. It has a decent or good cinema score. I think it's A-. So it's like that's a positive overall. And of course, in this time when a lot of these franchises are embracing having female leads, Frozen was kind of there when it was starting to happen as well. So it's a positive all around. And it keeps furthering the story. Plus, you're exploring how she got her powers. So there's something new to discover. I know some people have been complaining in the reviews that, it feels like a little bit of a rehash of the first film. But hey, some people like going back to feel those old things, and then you present them with a little bit of something new. So there you go.
That's funny. That's actually the opposite I would say about this movie in particular as the sequel, is that I really enjoyed how the story matured, and it felt like a very distinct next step forward for both characters. But whatever, this isn't a review. We're talking about more box office, and there's a whole bunch of other things on the list. Rocha, what caught your eye?
Yeah, Ford versus Ferrari. I like it. It made $16 million, which is a 49% drop. It's not great, but it's also not too bad. It's at $3 million worldwide on a $90 million budget. So you look at this, I'm like, okay, this is, or $98 million budget. So I'm like, okay, it's not 100% great right now, but I think there might be Oscar talk coming for this thing, so that might give it its legs as well. A lot of people really came away from that film surprisingly enjoying it. It did a great first weekend. Christian Bale is incredible in the film. Matt Damon does his thing, but it's really Christian Bale who's fantastic, kind of like the fighter. Wahlberg did his thing. Christian Bale was the reason you're talking about it. And Mangold directs an incredible film, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and somehow manages to turn the United States into the underdog. And I love that. It's brilliant, and it's perfect and it works as a family film as well, because he's got these strong relationships with his child, with his wife, Christian Bale does. So all of that could give Ford versus Ferrari a lot more legs than we thought.
It is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
right now is the time of year for crowd pleasers. I also wonder if a lot of these movies are going to wind up being served well by the fact that we've had so many box office lull weekends. Like the beginning of November was very, very low compared to last year. And I wonder if it's just a matter of, folks saving their money for Thanksgiving openings and to carry them through the Christmas season. So I don't know. Some of these movies, especially a movie that's a big 4-quadrant crowd pleaser like that one, I think it could do well.
You make a good point, because I think if I was reading correctly, Forbes had it down that to date, the box office is 7% less than it was last year. And
I actually thought it was more than that, but I guess Frozen might have changed that number significantly.
Right, to help it. Yeah, so you're like, okay. But I think this, and I'm looking at this as a trend, and it slowly but surely, people are staying home more. And I don't think it's about quality of entertainment. I think it's people staying home more. People waiting for these things. People getting them online. People streaming them. I just feel like this is the start of a trend that people have been saying for quite some time was coming.
And it's cold outside. Sometimes people like to stay warm.
It's not cold out here. I need people to stop saying
it's freezing here right now.
You have not been out here long enough for your blood to thin out. And when it does, you'll be complaining.
First of all, I'm making sure my blood, I don't want to be one of those people all of a sudden sudden it's 52 degrees in a North Face jacket and a scarf.
For the record, I was making the same complaint in New York, too. It didn't change when I moved out here. I always hated the
I'm
cold.
from Chicago. We are born and bred in it. But what stands out for me is 21 Bridges.
Yeah.
21 Bridges made $12 million worldwide this weekend, 9.3 million domestic, and it's Chadwick Boseman in the lead.
Yeah.
And you would think, coming off of just being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is this thing, like, they draw to the box office. It was the same thing with television shows and even some movies with the Game of Thrones crew, the cast, excuse me, where you would bring them in and you're like, hey, they're on Game of Thrones, they'll draw people in. Clearly, this isn't the case, because we talked about it before we went on air. Men in Black International with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth did not do what they thought it was going to do. Yeah. The budget for 21 Bridges is $33 million. Now, could it eventually reach that? Yeah, but the fact it didn't crack that at least opening weekend speaks volumes.
And with the Russo brothers behind it.
And with the Russo brothers behind it.
Yeah, there's that. But I mean, the fact that it's an STX release, and STX has had some films that have done pretty well, especially for the amount that they cost.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's difficult to compare something like that to one of the big studios releasing a movie with a major headliner. But one way or the other, I think, this year in particular has proven the fact that headliners are very hard to come by. Headliners that could very quickly bring in an audience without like a grabby concept or a big brand around it.
Do you think that whole stigma is dying out in a sense?
I think it's been dying out for years. I mean, even when you look at, let's look at Tom Cruise. The Mission Impossible franchise does very well, but did The Mummy do very well?
Right.
I mean, for other reasons, the movie was not very good, but you would think that Tom Cruise would draw a crowd that was bigger than the opening weekend total that movie made.
It's weird because we just say that, and the reason I asked that is you go to Charlie's Angels. And everybody said because Charlie's Angels didn't have real star power in the headline. Yeah, you had Kristen Stewart, but it's not real star power, is why a lot of people didn't go out. It's like this, there's not a balance.
I think there's a larger discussion to be had here about this idea of clamoring for female-led films, clamoring for more of them, clamoring for more minority-led films, or and people don't go see them. It's not about just having films out there. It's about making quality films that people want to go see. I think that's the larger discussion here. That's really what's important. And so, yes, we can us in the sphere can clamor to have more of these films out there, but the public decides what they want to go patronize and what they don't want to go patronize. And if they don't sense you have a good film here, they're not going to come, no matter who's in the lead, no matter who's in it. So I think that's the larger discussion.
To
Andrea Berlitz's The Kitchen. Look at Charlie's Angels.
The Kitchen was Black and Blue.
The Kitchen was a plain old bad movie.
That's what I'm getting at.
Charlie's Angels wasn't, but Charlie's Angels wasn't.
Right, fair point. But then you bring up the idea of, is there enough star power to get people into the theater? That's another conversation. So why are people patronizing certain female-led films or certain minority-led films and not others? This is the conversation.
Well, also,
Harriet is doing incredible on a little budget.
But here's my counterpoint to all of those. When you have Charlie's Angels, which wasn't marketed well, you have 21 Bridges, which was barely marketed.
Look at Black and Blue. Black and Blue was all over the place in L.A. and it didn't do well.
Right, but it's Tyrese.
It's not Tyrese. It's Naomi Harris. Tyrese is a supporting character.
But I know you have Naomi Harris, but it's Tyrese.
All right. And that's as good as Charlie's Angels, Black and Blue was.
But then you have,
people didn't see that.
What was the other film you brought up? Because you brought up those two and then you brought up
The Kitchen.
The Kitchen is just a bad movie.
Sure.
It's just a bad movie.
It was a bad
movie.
It also had a really weak release date. I don't necessarily think this comes down to, what type of person stars in the movie. I think we're just in a time where the landscape is changing, and not just the rise of streaming services where people are choosing whether to stay home or go to the movies, spending their dollars on streaming services or buying a ticket. But on top of that, the release calendar is changing across the board.
Sure.
Certain periods that we used to consider lulls at the box office are not. Now those are opportunities to make money. And I think the fact that we are seeing more Avengers Endgame type movies that are like high priorities, where such a significant population of like the movie going public needs to see that movie opening weekend no matter what. I think we're just seeing a lot of folks out there reserve money for the big franchise films, and there's less to go around across the board, whether you're talking about Charlie's Angels, whether you're talking about Black and Blue, Dr. Sleep. I just think there's less money to go around if you are not like an epic blockbuster juggernaut. Period.
Which is where the streaming comes in, I think.
But then also, every movie studio is not equipped to put out a big blockbuster juggernaut, which I get.
Right.
Which I get. But you have some who can compare and compete a small amount. Again, it goes back to Charlie's Angels. Whereas you had Paramount, who if they put just a Sony. My apologies. If they just put a little bit of effort behind it. This is Sony. You can put some effort behind it.
I don't know. They did. Kristen Stewart was busy on that press circuit. She really gave it her all.
I think it's just what they put out. What the trailers weren't great. Those kinds of things hurt you in the long run. And I don't think I agree. I don't think I think I'm somewhere in the middle between you two. I think the studio did not 100% believe in the film, or else we would have been inundated with the marketing.
That's what I'm saying.
But Kristen Stewart did her best to promote it, and so did Elizabeth Banks. But I think in the long run, I don't think the studio did enough.
Just curious, what do you think is being inundated with marketing? Like, what do you expect to see, and where do you expect to see it?
Like you talk about like these TV spots, right? We get all these TV spots for Avengers, TV spots for Star Wars. We didn't get a lot of TV spots, for Charlie's Angels.
But how much like broadcast TV are you watching? Are you watching just football games, or like more than that? Because there are a lot.
Of course, I'm watching.
Well, there's a lot of like cable cutters out there. So
right, I'm not one of those.
There's so many different places that you need to market your movie now. I'm wondering if they're just kind of like spreading their money around.
Or what if they're just focusing in those places?
It's true.
But what if they're just focusing in those smaller places?
They could be.
You have a Charlie's Angels and you're just focusing on certain networks.
Also, if you have a movie that appeals to an older audience, maybe you are just focusing on TV spots and not necessarily, ads before YouTube videos.
That's fair. Maybe they were there. As I did see some on YouTube, but look, where else are they going to promote this kind of film? I think you have to give the aura that it is a larger film than you think. And so putting these TV spots on broadcast TV, on streaming services, on YouTube, all these things should have been out there for them. I just don't think the studio 100% believed it, or they messed up the marketing, because this is a good movie. A lot of people say this is a good movie. It somehow just didn't catch on.
I just think, like, for instance, I watch Hulu like crazy, and I watch a variety of programming on Hulu. Henceforth, you get a variety of ads. I didn't once see a Charlie's Angels ad. So it's like, where are you, like you said, where are you directly marketing to? Hulu is a big thing for people. Again, streaming services.
Are we talking about Hulu originals or Hulu broadcast?
No, just Hulu,
the TV option.
The TV option with the regular broadcast. Not like the Hulu programming themselves. But it's like, where are you marketing this to? If you want, this is supposed to be a blockbuster film. It's supposed to be treated as such.
I don't know.
I know.
We're going to move from that marketing conversation into another one, because the Rise of Skywalker marketing, like, if you are bummed that those movies were not marketed strongly enough, I hope you're ready to have Rise of Skywalker stuff in your face from now, probably through to the end of the year, not even just release. And we're kicking it off with this very first Star Wars Rise of Skywalker clip here. Guys, this is basically our first, significant look at the film that isn't a quick cutting trailer. So what did you think of this scene? Did it, make you any more hyped for the movie than you already were?
Go ahead.
I mean, like, what is it supposed to do besides a Stormtrooper? They made it seem like the Stormtroopers flying is this brand new thing. It's not. It's been in video games, and I think it was in something else, but it's been done.
I think it was, I haven't kept up with the comics, unfortunately, but I think it was in the Poe Dameron comic.
Yeah, so it's like, this is done. I guess some people who aren't that far into the, canon of Star Wars, knowing about the games and comics, didn't know. So they're like, oh my God, Stormtroopers are flying.
Right, and that's most of the mainstream public.
So they're doing that. But the fact that you did see Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, John Boyega together in a scene like that, it's really like, okay, finally, we're getting them together. We've seen in the trailer all of them in the Millennium Falcon, but you're like, okay, cool, we're going to get more of them together throughout this.
I actually think it was smart for them to start with this. So admittedly, we had been talking about this before. I found the they can do that now? They can do that. Oh, they can do. I find that humor a little bit cheesy, but I actually think it was smart for them to release this while Mandalorian is so hot, because it's just very smart to set your clip that you're releasing on a desert planet, because I think you automatically make that connection, but then you could feel the difference in the style and tone. And it just, I don't know, watching this, because I happen to have watched episode 3 of The Mandalorian this morning, and then I watched this clip, and it's like, it all feels like it's the same world, but tonally it's different, and it could appeal to different Star Wars fans in different ways. I kind of liked the pairing of this being dropped in the middle of that.
Yeah, there was a Knights of Ren clip that also dropped, but this is the one that's, I think, dropped. Or there was something that was highlighted about it over the weekend. I saw
the Empire thing.
Yeah, the Empire thing. Yeah. And so you get a little more of an intro. But like this is old school Star Wars. The cheesy jokes, the repeating of the line, but the different people's reaction or saying the line differently works all around. Plus, you get these jump troopers. That's something new. People have been clamoring for something new. Now I want to see what the red stormtroopers, what's their part in this whole thing. So this idea that there's still a little bit of new stuff being introduced combined with some old school cheesy Star Wars humor is great. I think it makes you feel like, okay, we're going back home again, and we're going to wrap this thing up correctly. At least we'll get that vibe from like we had from the original trilogy.
Again, can we not jump too far? It's 30 seconds.
Yeah, it is 30 seconds.
I think that's the one thing we got to remember.
Well, we got the vibe, and that's what they wanted to do.
But it's 30 seconds.
Once again, the marketing.
Well, it's still 30. It's probably 28 more seconds than we would have gotten of a single scene in the trailer.
Fair. And it's only and those things can only, apparently, according to canon, they can only, those Imperial jump troopers, 20 seconds. That's as far as they can fly. 20 seconds with the jetpacks, and they have to come down or whatever, and then 20 seconds again.
Rocha with the fun facts.
I'm just saying. Little things like so they had to keep it a 30-second clip is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if they release many more clips before the actual release of the film.
I don't want them to, but you know they will.
I think like you can take what we saw in the trailer, the different trailers, and just extend a little bit of that. But I don't want to see too much because then you start putting the movie together.
That normally is what they do. If we've seen something in it's like first you get an image, and if you get the image, that image is probably going to appear in the trailer. And then if you've had a significant amount of footage from a specific moment, that's probably going to be the clip that they're going to release. Yeah. I hope that whatever clip they do release next, and they're bound to do it, is I want a quieter moment, because one of my favorite things about clips is it tends to give you your first taste of the energy, the style, the tone, the pacing of a movie. And, this felt like a very traditional Star Wars action set piece. I wouldn't mind a quieter moment between two key characters just to get a vibe for how that's going to feel.
I think that might be one of the next TV spots or something we get. Get a nice little dialogue back and forth about something going on. And then you got to try to piece. We'll be sitting here trying to piece together what the scene could be, and as every critic will do, every pundit will do. So in this dialogue, when such and such said this and they said that, and it's like, all right, let's just not do all of that. Let's just wait till the movie comes out.
Not much theorizing left, though. I mean, I can't believe how soon the release of the movie is after all of this talk.
Yeah.
It's really right around the corner.
Yes, it is.
Did you guys cry watching that featurette this morning?
No, because we watched it together, and I refused to cry next to Rocha. So
I appreciate your strength, Jay.
Oh, thank you.
Some people would say crying is strength. So some people would. Here's what I'll say to you. The clip was great. It's very nice to feel like, once again, this feeling of going back home again, right, to Star Wars, and remembering how long Star Wars has been in your life, literally my entire life, and how much it has affected you and why you keep coming back to it, why you hope these films are so good. My only complaint, and I'm going to put this out there, is that George Lucas was in this thing for maybe 3 seconds, 4 seconds.
He got a pretty epic shot, though.
He's the man who built this thing, son. I don't understand why you don't have him speaking. He's not even speaking. It's George Lucas.
I wonder if they'll do more of a tribute to him eventually, because this also felt like it was it was purposely tied into Rise of Skywalker and these particular characters' journeys coming to an end, kind of thing.
But you got a lot of Mark Hamill in this, and I know he might be appearing but still.
This is literally, like I told Rocha when we watched it together, minus the tears, I told Rocha, this is literally to make people say, Star Wars is supposed to make you happy. Remember? That is literally what that is for. Because remember all of the scrutiny off The Last Jedi, and then there's still people who are hesitant about The Rise of Skywalker. So this is literally to say, hey guys, this is supposed to be fun. That is literally what that is for.
If that is the goal, they have succeeded because, bring in the phrase, all the feels. That's what I felt while I was watching this. Sure. I mean, it's just not even that I needed a reminder of, why I'm a Star Wars fan and the fact that I am a fan, but when you get to watch something like that, and it's just like I think one of the coolest things about social media and YouTube and all these types of things that we get now is it's kind of like broken down the wall between the creators of the movies and the fans, and that's what this piece brought to me. It's just I like being able to see behind the scenes and how passionate the creators are about the property that I'm already passionate about. And there's something about pieces like this and social media posts that, I don't know, as a fan, it makes me feel even more involved than I ever have been. And I feel like that's going to wind up serving the whole experience and just fandom in general very well.
You're supposed to love everything. You're supposed to have, because that's what it did. Even seeing the moments when they're on the red carpet with all the fans, the one moment with John Boyega with the fans, and he's taking the picture with the stormtroopers right behind him. It's all this, we're part of a family. We're all in this together. So yes, your feels are real, and you're supposed to feel happy. Rocha, don't take away the happiness.
No, I'm not.
You do look like you're teeing up like a Grinch moment right now.
I think what it does though is make you feel good walking in before we go into the night.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to put it because it feels like we're wrapping this all up in a bow. Skywalker storyline is done after this. We're moving on, and that's. I think the general vibe as well from the video that they want you to have is this is like saying goodbye to something we've all been a part of for quite some time. They even have that clip of Mark Hamill saying, you never know if it's your last time or it feels like the last time. So you're just like, oh. Okay.
Admittedly, that got me.
Yeah,
as much as I have been a big advocate for the end of the Skywalker saga and, the continuation of something new. But when that was uttered in that piece, I'm like, no.
And with so much Carrie Fisher, that was the part where you had to hold back.
Sure.
Because they make sure they show you a lot of Carrie Fisher. Like, listen, she's gone in the physical, but she's still with us throughout this. And you're like, I'm okay because I'm standing next to John Rocha watching this.
Oh, God. All right, we're going to move on right now. So jetpacks are super cool, but you know what's even cooler than that? Crossbows. And I got to learn how to shoot one. Here's a promo of a Ready or Not video.
This right here is Christian Brune from Ready or Not, and we are here today to celebrate the digital and Blu-ray release of the movie, which you should see. And what better way to celebrate this one than to do some crossbow training?
Yeah. So you got it, we cock it, we keep it back, we load the thing so it goes all the way back.
To the back.
We keep our fingers
off the trigger.
We push it, click it, we aim it, and
we stick it.
Yep.
Push it, click it, aim it, stick it.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa, ricochet.
Hey, I got mine back.
What the heck?
It's that arrow.
Wow. Oh, Judd. Whoa, baby!
Get that in slow motion.
Dude, I was gonna
It was
say.
like,
Yeah.
There we go.
I think you got him in the heart.
It did a little curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet wrong.
Oh!
Never mind. What?
Hey,
The
hey.
France?
All right. Why don't we go with the big gun?
Oh,
See what
boy.
happens.
So that full video is up on the Collider Video YouTube channel right now, and I highly recommend checking it out because Christian Brune is he's like a total joy. That was so much fun to do with him in particular, but also because Ready or Not please tell me you've seen Ready or Not.
Of course.
Okay, good.
I did the junket.
Ready or Not, if you haven't seen it, you should prioritize it, and it's going to be available digitally tomorrow, actually, November 26th, and it's available on Blu-ray and DVD on December 3rd, and that's a really good companion piece for Knives Out if you want like a backwards family celebration. It's a lot of fun. Go watch the video, go see the movie. I hope you all enjoy. All right, we got one more story to hit today, and it's an interesting one. This is something a little unusual because Josh Trank took to Letterboxd to review his own film, Fantastic Four. And we all know that, some crazy stuff went down on that movie. We don't know the specifics or what really happened, but the result was a Fantastic Four movie that, wasn't great. It was not very good.
Say how you really feel.
I actually kind of agree with what Josh Trank wrote here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it first. All right. He started out by saying in his review, great cast, everyone in the film is a great actor, and overall there is a movie in there somewhere, and that cast deserves to be in that movie. Everyone who worked on Fantastic Four clearly wanted to make that movie, but ultimately it wasn't. Did I make that movie they deserve to be in? To be honest, I can't tell. What I can tell is there are two different movies in one movie competing to be that movie. Is there a release the Trank cut? Doesn't matter. I'm not Zack Snyder. All right, what do you guys think about Josh Trank going out and reviewing his own movie?
I loved it. I think it's absolutely great. I think more directors should do this because they take the piss and vinegar out of people who complain online about a film not doing well and wanting to blame the director and wanting to say, oh, that's why that person was removed from this franchise or whatever. I think it's a great way to kind of undercut all of that and realize that there are real human beings doing these things and encountering stuff that they have to encounter that maybe they didn't know they were going to have to encounter when they were starting this process. He goes on to say, I was 29 years old making my second film in a situation more complicated than anything a second-time filmmaker should have walked into. And that comes with age and retrospect. Even if 5 years later, when you're 34 versus 29, you can look back and see what that experience was like. I recently interviewed Gavin Hood for The Deep Cut, and we talked a little bit about his experiences doing X-Men Origins Wolverine. And he said that a famous executive walked up to him one day and said, you can complain about this, or you can try to make changes, or you can go with the flow. This is a machine, and if you get in front of the machine will crush you. Mm-hmm. That's his exact quote that is in the podcast, which we're dropping later. But he's another guy that walked in out of independent films into this massive situation. Mm-hmm. So I wish more directors would do this so that we as fans can get a peek behind the curtain and take them as human beings and process it all in the larger picture.
First of all, this is no secret of how Josh Trank felt about Fan 4 Stick. We're never going to call it Fantastic Four. It's Fan 4 Stick. But he said that the moment it came out. Yeah. He tweeted about it. This is not my movie. So for him to now go and do the commentary behind it, it just adds on to him already letting everybody know this was not his film. This is not what he put together. This is not his vision. And yes, I giggled when he said release the Trank cut because this is one of those things opposed to the other one. I refuse to say its name. It's like Voldemort. I would want to see because this is a completely different movie from what he says he's done. So I really want to see the two. I don't need just extra scenes. I want to see what his version is. Because also I want to see if Dr. Doom in this one, or just Doom, doesn't look like somebody's 8-year-old child drawn with a crayon. There are different things in this movie you want to see. You want to see how does this story really play out. And so him saying that is one of those things like, yeah, I agree with you. More directors should be able to do that. But there could be this backlash behind it because yes, it's been 5 years since. Right. But there are some people like, oh, that's how you felt? So now this studio decides not to work with this director anymore because they're like, oh, now you're going to come out and speak out against us.
That's the other thing.
That's the negative side to that.
I don't know. It's like I look at stuff like this and I've been saying this since this movie came out. I was a huge Josh Trank fan before this movie, and even though this movie didn't pan out, it's like that whole situation was a whole bunch of he said, she said from our perspective. So I can't really make any judgments on who did what and what was right and what was wrong and all that. But it's just like a fascinating space to be in, to be a young director like he was working up against the studio machine. And I feel like we've seen so many directors with a really strong voice and vision kind of have to succumb to that. All I want is a series of tell-alls. Like I would love if someone out there would produce a series and each episode would focus on a different case study kind of like this. Because I mean, not only could it be interesting for us as fans, but I think it could be beneficial for the system overall.
Absolutely.
I understand the problems that could come with that and the problems that could come with Josh Trank speaking up against the studio that he worked with. Maybe they're not going to hire. I mean, for all we know, maybe they're not going to hire him after the movie came out anyway. But you also don't want to completely burn additional bridges. But if enough directors out there who felt like their voice was stifled on a big project speak up, maybe some studios or some leaders at studios will change their way and will find a healthier balance between the studio money system and directors who have some real style and skill to show off.
But we're seeing that happen with a lot of situations. We have Josh Trank. You've even had Lord Miller say a few things about their time.
That's who I would start with.
Yeah, Lord Miller when they were doing Solo. So you have these, and these are big entities. And so the only issue is they're big entities. They look like you're a director. We can get another one of you, which again, it happened with Solo.
You know what actually might be the benefit of what streaming services are doing right now? The fact that in addition to some of these folks speaking out, now you have someone like a Martin Scorsese who goes to Netflix with The Irishman because Netflix is the only entity who will let him make that movie the way he wants to.
Yeah.
Maybe if more big name directors out there start inking these deals, then, the theatrical studios are going to have no choice but to give in a little.
Well, and it's a good point. And look, both of these situations, the Gavin Hood thing and the Josh Trank thing, are under what studio? That got bought by Disney. Yeah, exactly. So that Kinberg thing is over, and we can move on from it. And hopefully Disney, I think Disney, you sense from a lot of the directors that have worked under the MCU, what have you, they feel more comfortable coming and doing stuff there, and they feel like their vision works combined with what the studios say to do. I didn't see Star Wars. I said MCU.
No.
There's a
I'm going to
difference.
go. I got something with the MCU because, again, remember, before
The Edgar Wright thing?
No, not even Edgar Wright.
All right.
Ava DuVernay. Ava was supposed to have Black Panther before Ryan Coogler did, and she wasn't able to do her vision. She wanted a different way to do it, but because they have a formula, which I get.
To be fair, it's like I'm always rooting for a creator to see their vision through and exactly what they want. But there are some filmmakers out there who need some sort of executive oversight. And there's some very talented executives at these studios too, who have very successfully carved out paths for certain franchises. So it's about finding a balance. I never like to hear scenarios that give me the impression like a director was bullied out of making the film that he or she wanted to make. But sometimes you kind of got to work together and find the middle ground.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what's going to benefit the end product overall.
Absolutely. When you have a MCU, when you have a Star Wars now with, because a lot of people may have their feeling on Kathleen Kennedy one way or another, but you have these stories already set. You have the giant board that says, we're here at this point, we want to get here.
Right.
And so those things, yes, you have to follow those, but when you bring in a director, they have an eye. As long as they know the goal, let them do their vision.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's the thing that I come back to me. If you've hired this director, your job is to support this director. Your job is not to force your opinion or shove your thoughts and points of views about what you think should be happening with the movie. Because if you feel that way, you direct it. And that's my problem. Let the director do their vision. You select them. You either sink or swim with them, but you've made the decision. So your job is to support their vision coming forward. If the vision doesn't work, it's not great, guess what? You messed up choosing this director, take the hit and move on. The Frankenstein shit never works. Never works. There's never been a Frankenstein movie that worked. Maybe Rogue One. But maybe. But like everything else, Justice League wasn't 100% loved. This Fantastic Four film is not. Brave, I would throw Brave out there. Brave isn't that damn good of a Pixar movie. It feels like two movies shoved together. So those kinds of things just never work. It's just my opinion.
It's difficult to say never. I would have to do some serious research before I went back on that statement.
I can't recall.
You know what else I would love to see in addition to this tell-all? I would love certain, executives at studios and directors who work with that executive to come out and talk about their collaboration a little more, because I do think that there are probably many instances because, yes, a director has a vision, but producers don't necessarily just have to be like the money folks, like throwing money and resources at a project. They could also be creative producers. And sometimes that guidance and that second set of eyeballs that isn't as entrenched in a production as maybe a director is, sometimes that's vital and necessary. And sometimes that person can give certain solutions that other individual at the helm of the project might not think about. So I think there's opportunity for strong collaboration. And I would like to guarantee that there is some of that happening behind the scenes that we just don't talk enough about. You know what? I'm going to put that question on my list of questions whenever I do an interview now.
Well, I had to cut about 20 minutes from that interview because I put that question out there with Gavin and he went on about it and we had to cut it because it's just like that stuff has to get cleared. But yes, you make a great point, Perri. Can we find that middle ground? Can we find that balance? You got to know which director to go with, which director not to do that tactic with. And like Tim Miller came out just recently and said, I'm never doing, it was Ryan Reynolds who got me off Deadpool 2 because he wanted to be in control of all the creative decisions. And there's no point in being in a situation where I can't win any of the arguments. And then he said, and then I think he said that's probably why he won't come back and do a Terminator 2 film or Terminator film again because of dealing with James Cameron. So those are those kinds. You got to know which director to add the second set of eyes to and which director not to add the second set of eyes.
But again, yes, I
But it's
agree
a case-by-case basis. So I think
that's what I was going to say. It's a case-by-case because, again, Deadpool is something I get where Ryan Reynolds invested in this. And like, you want to make sure this character that you brought to life that a lot of people have been wanting to see on the big screen is done the right way. And maybe Tim Miller was going to take it in a different direction.
Or maybe he wasn't.
Look,
and Ryan just wanted control.
The first Deadpool movie, if you were able to watch it linear, if you're able to watch it linear, it's slow as hell. Remember, the best part of the movie is put in the front, which is in the middle. If you watch that movie linear, if you picture it linear, it's super slow. So potentially that could have been Tim Miller's direction, where look, beginning to end. But instead, maybe Ryan Reynolds is like, how about we give us this? We give everybody this. This is the teaser we dropped that was leaked. We put it in the beginning, give everybody this action, and then give them the rest of the story. That's a potential. We don't know for sure.
Collaborating is hard.
Yes.
It really, really is. Whether you're talking about, even sometimes when we collaborate on certain videos here or like talk about questions to ask during interviews, we have different opinions. And when you're talking about, $100 million plus movie that's going to go on to make or break someone's career, there's feelings involved. And it's difficult to get on that same wavelength. So I feel like one of the morals of the story is when you find a collaborator that you gel with, hold tight to them.
Good point.
Working with them.
Very much so.
All right, let's get to some of these live chat questions here. Going to start off with a holiday friendly one. Jarrett Barkley wants to know, what is your favorite Christmas movie? Side question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? It is to me.
Yes.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
I would agree with that.
I don't understand fools who say it isn't.
Do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
Well, sure. It's a Wonderful Life is still, which just came out in 4K. It's absolutely my favorite Christmas movie, bar none. But a close guilty pleasure is Just Friends. Ryan Reynolds, shout out. I love that film.
Okay.
It's a nice, cheesy, guilty Christmas
I haven't rewatched that one in a while. Maybe I'll give it another shot.
So
All
funny.
right, I'm just going to be honest. The original Home Alone is my go-to because it's set supposedly in a suburb right outside of Chicago. It's set in a suburb right outside of Chicago, but the movie is great. And also, for those who have not realized, Kevin McAllister should be charged with attempted murder.
Oh, boy.
In both of them.
Here we go.
Kevin McAllister tried to kill them damn burglars. I mean, I get
They
it.
were trying to break into his house.
You don't
stand your
murder
ground.
them.
It's a stand your ground law.
Not in Illinois.
You remember when we had Jake Roper on the show from Vsauce?
Yes.
One of his earlier versions of that show was a Home Alone one, and it was basically how, just one example that he had in that video is how like throwing a paint can in someone's face wouldn't just knock you off the stairs. It would probably decapitate you.
Yes.
Especially at that speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, a blowtorch at somebody's head, and the only thing you think happens is his knit cap and the top of his head catches on fire. You put water on your steps so they ice over.
Well, if you buy the premise that that kid is that smart to understand the laws of science and what he's doing, then you have to accept that that these things are done for comical effect.
Again, in Home Alone 2, he drops a brick on the top of the
That's true.
He
That's a fair
throws
point.
brick.
Yeah.
Kevin McAllister is an attempted murderer, and I understand he's trying to protect. This is not a
This was a sweet question. You turned into a very dark thing.
Killing childhood dreams out there.
I'm sorry, but Home Alone is my go-to movie, and It's a Wonderful Life. I love it. It's beautiful, and also it's not a movie, but I'm a diehard fan of the whole animated Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Man. I love those so much.
I got to go with Nightmare Before Christmas, which is a Halloween movie, and it's also a Christmas movie. I love that movie so much, and it's a year-round movie. What am I saying? Elf has become a go-to. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. I can't watch it without smiling, and I'll give a little shout-out to a random one. The Holiday is very underrated. It's very, very good.
I'm sorry. Speaking of the Best Man Holiday, Last Christmas, Jingle All the Way. I'm gonna give Sinbad some props if nobody else will on this thing.
All right, let's look at a couple of others here. Here's a good one actually from Luke Nelson. This is kind of terrible. What script would you love to own an authentic printing of? So I have a feeling this might have come from a story that's circulating right now that a Rise of Skywalker script was nearly sold on eBay.
Oh my God.
Apparently, and I'm paraphrasing here, I should have the proper quote to explain this, but I believe J.J. Abrams had said someone from the cast left it under their bed, and then someone cleaning their place got a hold of it, and it was put on eBay, but it was stopped before it was actually sold. I believe that's the story.
Because the crazy part is every one of those scripts are watermarked. So you know exactly whose script it is.
Very good point.
That's a scary, scary scenario.
Authentic
So it's like
scripts.
fantasizing and me trying to look on the bright side. It's like I would love if that script was sold, it was sold to like a hardcore fan who wanted to preserve the mystery, and they spent all their money to buy it, but just to keep it safe from people, like not to actually put it out on the internet or leak it.
I know what script I want. The Hateful Eight. Only because I want to count the number of N-words that are in the actual script. Because I know how many are said in the movie and the extended version, which is on Netflix, which I watch a lot. I want to see how much that Quentin Tarantino was just like, it'll fit here, it'll fit here. It's not needed, but it can work here. I just want to see that because, again, we know Quentin Tarantino's films. He is known for using it. He feels like, yeah, I can do it. I grew up around black people. Okay. But I just want to see how many, I want to counter so I can put on the top 716 because I believe it's that many times.
Wow. I'll do Social Network script. I love the Social Network script. Aaron Sorkin wrote an incredible script. So if I could have that signed, the original signed by Aaron Sorkin, that would go up in a frame on my wall.
I think I just have to go with my favorite movie of all time to have an authentic version of the Jurassic Park script. Like, especially I'd probably want one from one of the actors with like their scribbles in it too. Like that's the kind of stuff I love seeing. So during award season, everybody knows because we post pictures about it. They often send us, beautiful coffee table books with photos and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Some of the ones that I've loved the most that I've received are the ones with like photocopies of script pages with someone's like notes and references throughout the entire shoot. That's the kind of information I like to get.
Yeah, that Irishman that's a good one.
Yeah.
I just got that one over the weekend.
I think that's probably what's at FedEx waiting for me. I gotta go pick that up. Probably after this. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take one more question. All right. Rick Morris wants to know what sci-fi film is the perfect fit for the Tesla Cybertruck?
The one that didn't work? Fantastic Four. No, oh, geez, I don't know.
Wait. Explain to me. It didn't work.
Yeah. There was issues with it when they dropped. There were, I think
They like it was
supposed to
the
be
glass.
unbreakable windows.
Yeah, the glass
broke.
shattered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shattered.
I at least
Yeah.
saw like a screenshot of that somewhere.
Yeah.
Everybody said it has
Something
8-bit graphics like a PlayStation 1. Sci-fi movie that aliens, you can be a transport on a dock. Go ahead.
I feel like it needs.
It worked in Aliens.
I know.
Yo,
I feel
where
like
it
it
would
needs.
work?
I feel like it needs to be a spoof if it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Something that didn't work that everybody thought
Oh,
was
it
gonna
didn't work. Okay.
I feel like Chappie would drive it, but I love Chappie.
Didn't work.
I could see that being an Ad Astra
On the moon?
on the moon
Yep.
and
That's the space pirate
not
vehicle.
working. Them thinking that it would work when it not work. Yeah, space pirate vehicle. That seems like it would.
Yes,
would
there's
do.
space pirates in Ad Astra. On
I
the
just
moon.
want to place it in
Moon
a
pirates.
place where it shouldn't be, like in Mad Max Fury Road or something.
That's what I was thinking. Like you said,
Just
something
rolling
that
around.
but you said something that didn't work, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road works, but that would fit perfectly.
No. You know what you would do if they made another Mad Max movie? You would have this car in
Yeah.
it, but it would be not a car. It would be
A home?
like remolded to some sort of like throwaway like tool or something.
Yeah, that works.
Meanwhile, they're busy driving all the other cars, like the makeshift cars that they make.
It's hard to think of sci-fi movies that didn't work that would fit in, because you would actually want to put that in there. Like maybe it'll make the movie a little bit just better in general, like in
Yeah.
good movies.
Wait, what is this? I wish Dorian was in the room right now. Mark Chapman wrote paraphrasing. Did I say something inappropriate?
I don't know.
I could have. Was there a "that's what she said" joke somewhere in something that I said?
Not that I-
don't
not
know.
that I-
I can't, guys. I can't handle it, and it's only Monday, but we're going to have a great week of movie talk ahead for you. Rocha, Jay, thank you so much for spending your Monday morning with me.
Always good.
Yeah, it really is.
I told you.
And as always, Adam in the booth, Dorian in the live chat, thank you guys so much for your hard work. To everybody out there, there's some good stuff going down on Collider Live today at 10 o'clock in the morning. Lance Reddick is on the show. You don't want to miss that. Before you head over there, like and share this episode of Movie Talk. And don't forget, come back right here to this desk tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. PT for a brand new episode.